All right, we're back. You found it, one of your favorite hockey podcasts. This is Wooden Sticks. I'm Kevin Gorg, the host, and we are recording today from the Aquarius Home Services studio. Had a fabulous time last week. If you were able to attend, we had a great crowd over at Insight Brewing for that live show with Michael Russo. We had a blast doing it. We're going to do it again in April. Keep an eye both on my social media at Gorgomatic21, and of course, keep an ear on this show for dates and times. We're going to wait and see if and when the Wild qualify for the playoffs and how those games shape out. We're going to do something in and around that mid part of April, and we think Devin Dubnyk is going to be our guest. And he's a goaltender that knows all too well about playoff pressure, and he backstopped some playoff wins and some playoff losses in terms of series. He'll be a great, great guest. He's way into fantasy sports like I am, so looking forward to that. As well as the show today, which you're going to see the tag on here, and you're going to, leading into the show, Paul Allen, the Vikings play-by-play guy, the 9 to noon guy on KFAN. What the hell is he doing on Wooden Sticks? Well, there's a rich history of hockey in his bloodlines and in his upbringing, and obviously in his time at the Fan, getting to know Wild players and Wild coaches, Gopher coaches, and players back when they won a national championship. I vividly remember some of the players hopping on, like Johnny Pohl and Jordan Leopold on his show. And so, Paul knows the game. Paul loves the game. Even though he's a basketball guy, he loves hockey. And really looking forward to our chat today because of my longtime friendship with PA, the time we spend together every summer at Canterbury. We've done it now for 25 years together out there, working side by side. We have all kinds of these conversations, but to get more specific into his background and to talk hockey at a different level with him, and also, I'd like to hear what he thinks about the Minnesota Wild. And I'll tell you where I'm at right now. And I know if Joe O'Donnell's listening or Wes Walls, two of my closest friends that I travel with and work with, they know I'm in meltdown mode emotionally right now because I believe strongly in this group, starting with Bill Guerin and John Hines at the top and the coaching staff. And I'm there every day, and I'm privileged to be there and see the blood, sweat, and tears these guys put into it. But I'm going to put it to you this way. I don't think this team has been dealt a fair hand. And that's just part of sports. Like, it's not always going to go your way. And in any game, in any season, you got to overcome some of these obstacles. I just believe that this year, and I've done this for 2 decades, I've yet to see a team deal with this much. And when Kirill Kaprizov back in December got hurt for the first time, this team had the best record in the National Hockey League. And so it's funny, lately in the last couple of weeks, because of my job and because of the time I spend in and around the Minnesota Wild, I'll get my brother-in-laws or my cousins or my nephews or my nieces or buddies or friends in the neighborhood here text me, and it's happened dozens of times. What's wrong with your Wild? Well, there ain't nothing wrong with the Minnesota Wild. I mean, it's a math equation right now. And you can say whatever you want to say about the Suter and Parise buyouts and the cap penalty that's around $14.5 million before any game gets going for the Minnesota Wild right now. But let's go back to these two most recent losses. We're recording this on a Thursday. They got beat 3-0 at Dallas and 5-1 at home against Vegas. Both games were closer than the final score would indicate. That's not the point. When the Wild took the ice in Dallas, the Stars were virtually fully healthy. They're missing one of their defensemen. So the Wild were hitting the ice at around 40 to 41 million in salary of players on the ice for that game. The Dallas Stars were up in the neighborhood of 80. That's twice the salary. And so when I say math equation, this team can put out an A effort and it still might get a C result. And I thought Gus was good in that game. I thought they played for 59 minutes and change straight up with the Dallas Stars, who are the Stanley Cup betting favorite right now in virtually every betting market. The frustrating part for this is right now, you can work hard, you can play well, you can get chances, which they did that night. Ottinger in the Dallas net played really, really well. It doesn't always work out. And so right now we're at DEFCON 5 and the margin for error is shrinking, and the Flames and the Canucks and the Blues just keep winning. And when it gets right down to it, I understand it because I've lived here all my life, and I, like everybody else, unfortunately, I'm a Minnesota sports fan. And we don't watch games or seasons unfold thinking how great something might end up being. We watch them saying, how are we going to get hurt this time? So if anybody gets it, I do. But remember, as you're watching this team battle here down the stretch, that there are going to be better and brighter days ahead. And if they can get in this year, and it's still an if, for sure, and I'd say right now it might even be a coin flip, and I'm okay with that. But if they can get in this year and get healthy, which we did find out this week that Eck and Kaprizov are back skating and looked pretty damn good doing it. And they are going to go on the road trip out east next week that takes the Wild to New Jersey, the Rangers, and the New York Islanders. They are not going to play in those games. But I would think directly after that, if they're going to go out and practice on this road trip and be a part of the team and kind of re-enter the room, so to speak, that their return is going to happen here later in April and maybe in time for the end of the regular season. This team's going to be a tough out in the playoffs if they can get in. I don't care if they have to play Winnipeg or Vegas, who will be significant favorites in those series. I don't care about the numbers, or Vegas and Winnipeg, if you look at the season series the last couple of years, have dominated that team. What that doesn't factor into, and this is where analytics can go wrong, is the fresh leg factor. If these guys come back and they are who they always have been, specifically Eck and Kaprizov, with fresh legs, having played less than half a season, that is a huge coup for the Minnesota Wild. They got to get in, and as I said, it might be a coin flip, but if you're wondering what's wrong with the Wild, it's a math equation, and I'm going to stand by what I just said. I can't wait for this conversation today. He is such a wonderful human being, the personality plus. He's a lover, and what I love most about PA is how much passion he has for his jobs. I'll tell you right now, you can love him, hate him, some of the calls you love, some of the calls you don't love. The show is 3 hours every day, and some things you're checking into, other things you check out with. You'll never question this guy's work ethic. He punches in every day and he brings it. And man, I've seen him at certain points of his schedule when he's got to work a Vikings practice, a radio show, a Vikings training camp practice in the afternoon, and then call a full night of 10 or 11 races. It's exhausting. And when we were in our 30s, we were tired. Now we're in our 50s and we're just hanging in there. But he's so good at what he does, and he's so much fun to talk to. So up next here on Wooden Sticks, my dear friend, Paul Allen.
The weather is warming up. That means it's time to put your augers away, and it's time to grab the boat. Let Onyx Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. Onyx Fish also shows you hot spots, lake-by-lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download Onyx Fish on the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota, or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. I am happy that Minnesota Masonic Charities has chosen Minnesota Bound and this podcast as a place to help spread the word. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
Hey, thank you to our new partner, Insight Brewing. They are located over in Northeast Minneapolis. The Insight Tap Room features 25 tap lines of rotating beers, THC seltzers, non-alcoholic beverages, local food trucks, and so much more. Insight has a 120-inch projection screen, and they will be showing all of the Minnesota Wild games throughout the season. You can also join Wooden Sticks at Insight Brewing at the Tap Room once a month for live shows featuring special guests, watch parties, hot takes, and of course, cold beer. You want to guarantee your seat? I got good news there too. Visit insightbrewing.com to request a free reservation. For a full list of other events, the food truck schedule, new beer releases, and more, follow at Insight Brewing on your favorite social media platforms and stay up to date. Thank you again, my friends over at Insight Brewing. Okay, welcome back on Wooden Sticks here from, as always, the Aquarius Home Services Studio. My name is Kevin Gorg. Happy to be joined by my dear friend, longtime Canterbury Park work buddy, Mr. Paul Allen. Hi, PA.
Hey, KG. Thanks for having me on Wooden Sticks.
Well, I want to start here. It's fun to have you on a hockey show because I listen to you on a daily basis on the Fan. Have all kinds of great hockey-related guests, including John Hines here in the last day or two. I really enjoy the chemistry you've developed with all these coaches throughout the years with my favorite hockey team. But JJ McCarthy, your favorite football team, and our new hopefully star quarterback is a hockey player. And I don't know how much you know about his background in terms of his hockey skill set, but I think it's fabulous that our quarterback was a multi-sport player, including hockey.
Well, what I do know about JJ and hockey is there came a time for him where he was really good at hockey and really good at football, probably really good at baseball too. And he had to make a decision. So somebody in his life, whether it's a family member or whatever, basically said, "You're very good at both of these, but why don't we become great at one?" So he chose football, and he ended up at IMG Academy in Florida. And I think from getting to know McCarthy last year the way I did when he got here, he tells a pretty emotional story about being at IMG Academy in Florida when COVID hits. And so therefore, you have quarantine. There's no way for him to fly home. And it was a very lonely time for him. So, I think JJ looks back at that time and just kind of what he learned about himself during that time to really fortify who he's becoming. But when I first met JJ McCarthy, having had the likes of Andrew Brunette and Jordan Leopold and Mike Yo, and just so many over the years on the 9 to Noon radio show, I know a hockey guy, and I just know the authentic nature of most, if not all, of the hockey guys I've met over the course of my run at KFAN. And he was that. I mean, looks you right in the eyes, big firm handshake, listens to what you have to say, responds to it. So he's, he may wear shoulder pads and a helmet that's going to don the Norseman logo somewhere on his uniform, but he's all hockey.
And he's a winner. I have become a fan of his, watching him play at Michigan, and then just seeing some of the little different things on social media he's done since he arrived here in Minnesota with the Vikes. I want this kid to be great, PA. I don't know how long it's going to take. I know at that position, it seems to take a while for guys to establish themselves in this league unless they're absolutely extraordinary. But I believe this kid's a winner, and at some point, I think he could be the guy that leads the Vikings over the hump. How do you feel about his skill set, especially in that first year?
I mean, Gorgie, the way you put it, I think is very interesting because everybody who is associated with or part of the team and those who are Vikings fans, they all want him to be great, and that includes me. But, you also said be a winner. So, what is the line of delineation between Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and whomever, and great and a winner, and starting out as a winner? So, the point being here is that he has something to his personality where you can just tell he's going to really feel the game, man. And after close wins and or close losses, I think his press conferences are going to be epic. He's just a very vein opening kind of guy. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, he should be a winner. I mean, unless we get out there and go, 12 touchdowns, 26 interceptions, which ain't going to happen, it's going to take a lot to hold back this team from being a winning team off what it added and what it did last year, specifically with the coaching staff. But when it comes to his skill set, there aren't many quarterbacks in college football that work under center. And from what I saw last year, and what I've been told by the likes of O'Connell, is he's very good under center and then turning his back on the defense and selling play action. And Cousins was very good at that. Then you're going through the quarterbacks in 2023 after Cousins goes down and you lost your play action game. Plus Madison wasn't the greatest running back either to sell the play action. So now you got somebody who is not afraid to turn his back to the defense, get the safeties and linebackers to think about it. They have to honor the receivers and the tight end and Aaron Jones. So that's step one with McCarthy, is when they settle into, say, joint practices, whatever he does in the preseason, then the regular season, when he goes on that play action, they're supposed to get nice strikes down the field. Secondly, he's like so many of these quarterbacks, like even Jalen Hurts, Mahomes to a certain extent, Bo Nix to a certain extent, that they're not running quarterbacks, but they can run. And when McCarthy breaks the pocket and keeps his eyes down the field, he has a swivel. Now the swivel needs to expand, I would imagine, to get to options A, B, C, D, and maybe E. But nevertheless, he doesn't pigeonhole one guy or one and a half players, kind of like Justin Fields did right when he got out of Ohio State. So when you get him outside on bootlegs or design plays with a run pass option, I think people are really going to like it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love the kid. I'm a fan. I think it's a great marriage with this head coach, who I was lucky enough to meet in the press box at Canterbury last year when he was out to see you call some races. I watched what he did with Sam Darnold, and I think Sam's a really nice quarterback. I think this kid has all kinds of talent, maybe more talent than a guy like Darnold. So I think KOC's the guy to tap into that. You and I have so much in common. We spend our summers together talking things out, whether it's life or whether it's sports. And I don't know how well people know you from your shows, but I think they have a pretty fond respect for your knowledge of the game of hockey. And I loved your backstory. And so I know the answer to these questions, but I want our listeners to tap into your hockey history because it goes back a long, long time. When did you first come to the game, appreciate the game of hockey? Being that this is Wooden Sticks, we like to start there and kind of work our way up.
I'd say 78, 79. I'm living in Washington, D.C. Sadly, my mom got divorced. So it was just she and I at a place called Private Hill Apartments. And whenever she could scrape up enough money, she would take me and my friends like Miles Spires, Lucius Tisdale, Dwayne Bonds, Danny Norton, Billy Camilio. She would take the neighborhood to the Capitol Center to see either Washington Bullets or Capitals games, or if like Ringling Brothers Circus was in town or the WWF or whatever. She was really good about that. And I found myself, even though I played basketball through junior college, I really found myself getting bit by these Capitals games. And like Gilbert Perreault for the Sabres coming in. I remember Jim Craig played for the Atlanta Flames after the Miracle. And I think either his first game or his first road game was at the Capitol Center against my beloved Capitals. And I was at that game. And after watching Do You Believe in Miracles? Gordie Howe. All right, he's with the Hartford Whalers, and, I got to see one of his very final games at whatever age he was. So, I remember that from ages 12 or 13, and she took me to a lot of them. I ended up, through some sporting things that I did, like YMCA-related stuff like that, I ended up meeting Dennis Maruk and his Fu Manchu mustache, so I got bit by him. Then, just even though I'm 59, I don't mind talking like this, part of sports, man, with pro sports is identifying certain players on certain teams, and you just kind of dig them. It's not anything weird. It's just like, wow, it's like a lead singer. It's like, this is really, really cool. When the Rangers came in with Ron Duguay and he wasn't wearing a helmet and we got that Vidal Sassoon hair just blowing in the wind in the pregame skate, I'm like, I'm all in on this thing. I mean, that guy right there, man, is Captain Cool. So all of that, up to Guy Charon and then Bank Gustafsson, I just loved him. And then my mom eventually would remarry, and I moved to Southern California. And when I got there, it was the tail end of the Triple Crown line. So it's Marcel Dion, Charlie Simmer, Dave Taylor, Rogie Vachon between the pipes. And the uniforms, man, with the big purple crown in the middle of the gold sweater, it was just so beautiful. And that's all along, playing basketball eventually, for several years. But that got me into hockey. Then kind of lost touch with it when the racetrack announcing career began in Northern California. But then, I get back to Canterbury in 95, and I'm going back and forth, track to track to track for 5 years. I settle in 98, and then the Wild come into fruition, and I get bid again. I'm like, this is fantastic. And what got me there at that age in my low 30s is how much the state really appreciated it. And I had known about the North Stars moving. I didn't know about the Norm Green sucks thing until I got there. And then I'm like looking at the crawl on sports channels, trying to get some baseball, basketball, or hockey score I can sweat because I probably was betting sports at that time. And I would see Quinnipiac and Ferris State and like Duluth and Mankato. And I'd be like, what is this? And then I quickly learned how important college hockey is to people in this state. And then high school hockey and the high school hockey tournament. So it just all really, really enveloped me. And once I started settling into, either PA and Dubé or 9 to Noon and meeting the hockey players and the coaches and the general managers and people like you and stuff like that, I was just like, this is phenomenal. This is really genuine and authentic. And I love being next to this game. So that's kind of the genesis from a knowledge standpoint. As you know, I'm not afraid to ask questions. Whether it's of you, whether it's of players that I've gotten to know over the years, specifically Alex Stalock. If I don't understand something about a game, then I just ask because I'd rather get the right answer from somebody who knows more about it than me than sound like a fool. So that's kind of the genesis of the whole thing.
Let's go back to those two first buildings that gave you the bug, so to speak, the Cap Center in Landover and the fabulous Forum. I've been to the Forum back in the day. In the shadows of Hollywood Park. What a beautiful racetrack that was. But I never made it to the Cap Center. I watched a bunch of games on TV. I remember kind of the siren that would go off when the Caps would score. It sounded like a police siren was happening. Compare those two buildings. What did you love about them? What did you maybe not like about either one of those old school spots?
Well, whenever the Vikings play the Washington WFT, Redskins, Commanders, whatever we're going by these days, I don't want to say I get emotional, but FedEx Field or whatever it's called these days is on the property where the Capitol Center used to be. So it's just, I know that part of Maryland. Back in 78, 79, there was Landover Mall, and my mom would take me and my friends there, and they had a little arcade, and we used to play that football game with the X's and the O's where you roll the ball really fast.
Oh, yeah.
You pinch your hand occasionally. So that was, back at that time with fewer TV channels, radio stations really, really mattered. Play-by-play on radio really, really mattered. And finding things to do wasn't the easiest thing in the world. So she would time it up to go to Landover Mall and play in the arcade and then go to the Capitol Center. Now, the Capitol Center, if you think of Pringles, like the chips, if you pull a single Pringle out and turn it so that it kind of looks like a shoe, the bottom of a shoe, that's what the Capitol Center was like. And, whether the Bullets were good then. They went to the NBA Finals twice in my final 2 years there. The Capitals, not so much. I remember they had a goalie named Bernie Wolf who wasn't very good. I think Blaine Stewart was a big rough and tumble defenseman, and I liked him and everything, but they just weren't very good at that time. So therefore, the building would draw a fair amount of people, but it didn't have the greatest atmosphere in the world.
How about the Forum?
Yeah, the Forum was unbelievable because even for hockey, the time that I got there, remember, would be 79, 80. So Magic Johnson's a rookie from Michigan State. So the whole Magic Bird thing is starting right there. And they already have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I'm going to the Forum to watch the Lakers, but also going there to watch the Kings. And you've been to all these arenas for hockey. So you have a great appreciation for this, where like Madison Square Garden, they kind of have the boxing lighting where it looks like the majority of the arena's dark, but it really illuminates the ice or the court.
Mm-hmm.
The Forum was like that. And a lot of stars, like I'd see Dick Van Patten there and John Forsythe and some others. And there were a bunch of stars that would go to the games. And the public address announcer was really, really cool. But the Triple Crown line, it had identity. And, even though the Kings weren't winning Stanley Cups, it was a cool team to watch in a cool building.
Yeah, it looked like it. I had a chance to go to a couple Kings games there more towards the 90s. And a lot like Madison Square Garden. I love that you brought up the illumination because we're going to be there next week in New York. And games at Madison Square Garden, even if they're on a Monday or Tuesday night, just feel like they're the biggest game in the world. And I felt the same way when I got to watch, at that time, it was my buddy Tony Granato and Wayne Gretzky and Marty McSorley and with the Kings in those black and silver uniforms. And it just felt like a bigger game. The Forum was magical, PA.
Yeah, when Gretzky came to the LA Kings and, they're segueing from the purple and gold to the silver and black at a time the Oakland Raiders couldn't find a home. So they became the Los Angeles Raiders and they would play at the LA Coliseum and they brought the silver and black. It was big. I mean, I was in high school and, I like hockey, but I mean, kind of like now, in LA, the Dodgers and the Lakers were ruling the roost. USC Trojans football was super massive. But the Kings captured the imagination of the nation when Gretzky came there. And that team had some identity. And, man, it was just a treat to watch him at the Forum, which was right next to Hollywood Park. It's still there. They do like there's some church thing that they do on Sundays that's absolutely massive. And so it's still there, and it's still white and orange like it used to be. I haven't been in it in years, but SoFi Stadium, where Hollywood Park used to be, is right next to the Forum. So I've been to SoFi to call a couple of games, one Rams and one Chargers. And when you leave on the buses heading to the airport, you go right by two of my favorite places that draw memories. One would be the fabulous Forum, then the other would be Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Where I just spent a lot of time at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. That's why I got 3 chins.
I love that. And it's a short drive to the airport because I know when we fly into LAX to go play the Kings, you used to be able to fly right over the racetrack. Now it is SoFi Stadium, and you can see where both the Chargers and the Rams play. So I know it's obviously a short commute. Let's talk specifically about the Wild. You have enough, I think, of a connection to this hockey team because of those great interviews with John Hines. You're over at practice with Vox in the Box. I know you watch as much as you can with all the other things that you've got to watch for your 9 to noon gig here in town on the Fan. This season, in my opinion, PA, they've overachieved getting to where they are with what they've dealt with. It feels like this week has kind of come to a breaking point where they've seen the teams around them like St. Louis, Vancouver, and Calgary get really, really hot. And what was once a 10 or 12 point cushion is now down to 3, 4, 5 points with games in hand and in the mix. Just your overall opinion, if you were betting right now, Wild in the playoffs, Wild out?
Oh, wow. That's a good question, man. Well, it's I know what I'm looking for, but with the Wild and with hockey to a certain extent, it's such an emotional sport that I kind of ride my vibe. Whatever gift of discernment God gave me, I roll with it with hockey and the Wild. And here's what I mean. They take that bad loss to the Kings at home. All right, so how are you going to respond? Well, they went 3 in a row, starting with the Kings a couple of Mondays ago. Now, the Kings are good, but I don't think the Kings are great. The other 2 teams they beat, Seattle and Buffalo, those teams ain't great. So the point being, that's what St. Louis is doing now. So if you look at the team St. Louis is beating, they should beat the majority of those teams, and they are. The Wild not only needed to respond off that debacle against the Blues, which they did, but they had to handle business with those 3 teams that they should be able to skate with and or beat, no matter who's down. Coach Hines knows how I feel about the team and about the job he's done for whatever it's worth, because we've chatted before, whether it's on or off the radio. I got a lot of respect for him. This hand dealt this year has been tough. And, I'm preaching to the choir here, talking about Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek. Those two right there, that's debilitating. And there's no other way to look at it. That is, I know it's a team game, and you got to get all the other components to work. I mean, I've worked in football for more than 20 years, and it's also a team game. So I understand if you lose Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson, you can still find ways to win. But these two in a five-man game, where you got three up front and two in the back, that's massive. And then it's Foligno, and then Johansson gets sick, and then Brodin is out and he comes back and then he's out again. I just got a lot of respect for John. And I don't exactly know how he handles things behind the scenes, if he's like a yeller or how he gets the most out of these guys. But this is a different generation of athlete. And a lot of things changed with the pandemic. And I've seen with coaches with the Minnesota Vikings how they handle conflict. And with some, it hasn't been great and they've been out. And with O'Connell and his group, it's fantastic and they're winning. I just have a feeling John has a really good way of working with people when they're going through things either off the ice or on the ice. And I think when Boldy came out of the Four Nations and he went through that long skiing without scoring a goal, it's just how John handled that publicly. Just very, very impressive, because, it bugs him. And it bugs Matt, but I mean, it's the public wants answers, but that doesn't mean the people who have all the answers are obligated to give them, because there could be exterior or ancillary things happening that nobody knows about and nobody needs to know about it. So it's been a testament to survival for this team. The fact that Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek are skating now is extremely exciting. The fact that Foligno's returning against Ovechkin is really, really cool. That's the heart and soul of the team, man. I don't have to tell you that. I mean, shoot, if you're there by the half wall and you got to look for Moose coming at you, man. But if you don't, you could just be a little more free and you could just play a little more freely. It's just fact. So I'm a big fan of John Hines. I support him. And yes, I do believe they will make the playoffs, because I think St. Louis is going to get a little regression to the mean here in a second.
I love your analysis. And, what I really appreciate listening to your radio show is how you can bring out the best in different personalities. And John Hines, I will tell you, is as even keel a coach as I've ever been around. And that's going back to my time with Jacques Lemaire. What I love about John is he practices what he preaches. He tells his team, we're not going to get too high off a win. We're not going to get too low off a loss. And he lives it every day. Now, he's super intense. He's got a ton of passion, and what a competitor this guy is. But back to the original thought, he doesn't let all the outside noise get to him. And so he stays at a very even pace. And I think on the radio, when you guys first started to kind of develop that chemistry, he was very guarded. What I love about watching this whole thing unfold now for a year and a half is how comfortable he has gotten with you on that show, because you have him on usually once a week. And I love that he lets his guard down, even if it's just for 10 minutes, because around the rink, he is very buttoned up, and that's just the way he does his business. He's a damn good hockey coach, but I love that you bring out that personality in him, PA.
That's really nice of you to say, Kevin. I appreciate that, because that's whether I'm interviewing John Hines, Kevin O'Connell, Chris Finch, those three specifically, head coaches, that's what I want to do. I mean, you can trust me. And I know you've heard a million times in your lives, you can trust people and you've gotten burned. Okay, cool. I ain't that guy. I don't care who's going to be inactive. Okay. I don't need to know that first. I don't need to know exactly what day is 97 coming back. I'm just not that guy. I don't care about that stuff. I care about relationships. I care about being authentic on the 9 to noon show with the person who is taking time from their schedule to join me. And that's not lost on me. They've made the conscious decision, for whatever the reason, to join this radio show. So then, therefore, my choice is to be kind and to be, if anything, your radio friend. So, but with Heinze, you're working the games. So I'm watching them on TV. And, there'll be some bad calls or there will be something that goes wrong. I mean, he'll roll his eyes, if it's a player who messes up a forecheck and something goes wrong and now we're on a rush the other way and it leads to a goal. Or if there's a bad call, your guy Andy Von Helleman messes something up. I mean, he'll drop some F-bombs. I mean, he'll get mad, you can tell, but it's quick and it's in and out. But with John, just the fact, they, like I said earlier, Kevin, it's pride's not going to be a problem for me when it comes to getting help with things that I don't know as much about as other people. So there are times I will text you and I'll be like, hey, I've been speaking at these churches. I've been doing this with 9 to Noon. I've been doing this with the Wolves. What's going on with these questions? Can you help me a little bit? And you'll help me, including most recently after they took those bad losses to Dallas and Vegas. I mean, I sat there at KFAN at 6:45 in the morning looking at my computer screen, trying to write Hines going, whoa, I mean, I can come up with 5 here, but I need Spotty. So you help me. People like Aaron Sickman with public relations. He runs PR for the Wild. Aaron and I have been friends and known each other for quite some time. And I know you guys are quite close too. But see, a lot of these relationships with the coaches or the players, if you're not authentic and honest with media relations, and it's not like I'm going to just completely roll over on every single thing for the betterment of the team, but there's a fine line there where they kind of know, hey, I got you and you got me. Let's do a good job with this interview. So like Aaron Sickman with the Wild, Aaron Freeman with the Wolves, Jeff Anderson, Sam Newton with the Vikings, those guys set up so much behind the scenes before you talk to these people. They set it up a certain way so that you come into everything, the relationship and the interview, pretty much set up for success. And the only way you can blow it is if I or that person decides to blow it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's that relationship is everything. And in our business, you have to earn that respect and earn that trust. And it's a process for sure. And all these teams have a regiment. They're guarded. They want to make sure they're getting the message out. And a lot of these coaches don't want too much information out there. It's with social media, PA, it's a fine line we all walk. But I think you and I come from the same old school of thought where I'm not here to break news. I'm not Michael Russo. I'm not here to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. And I guess on the other side of the equation, that's the stressful part for me because I have to walk that line. So do you with the Vikings. You see things that you're probably not supposed to see on the airplane. I'm the same way. The flip side, though, is sometimes you get to have a brush with greatness. And I think all of us as sports rubes are drawn to the games because of greatness. And for me, interviewing Sidney Crosby a couple times is always going to be a career highlight. I got to ask you, though, and I don't think I've had this conversation with you. A year and change ago, one of the most famous humans on the planet, LeBron James, after one of your epic calls, Vikings at Bills, that crazy finish of that game with Josh Allen, tweeted out that you are an American treasure. I got to tell you, you're a pretty down-to-earth guy and all the stuff you do. And, we've been buddies now for 2.5 decades in that press box at Canterbury. How in the hell did you process that?
It was hard, and it was an honor to read that. Here's how it hit me, man. It was great, okay, and it really was LeBron. Like I spent 15 minutes figuring out if it was a fake account or not. But the duplicitous nature of it still to this day kind of bugs me because the year before, in the second game of the season, I blew a call in Arizona, and God has put me on a fair amount of big moments where I feel like I've come through. A couple of calls are associated with plays in the Hall of Fame, so therefore I've never been involved in a game-deciding moment that I've blown until 2021. Greg Joseph at Arizona, kick is up and it is good. No, he missed it right. Okay, so I blew it. Now, you mentioned social media earlier. I get out to the buses and I got, Kirk Cousins and some other players coming up to me, holding their phones in front of me going, dude, are you okay? And it's like Barstool Sports has like a clown nose on my face. Who is this clown? I mean, I'm getting destroyed. Now, honestly, I couldn't care less. It's you know where my heart is, man. It's
Yep.
my first thought is I just wonder why God guided me in '09 with Favre and the Minneapolis Miracle and all these calls that people like to the precise words and the precise crescendo that was hit. And everybody liked it and it glorified the team. And then all of a sudden, why here? Why this one? So I wrestled with that more so than the negative attention that I was getting. But now we fast forward a couple of years to that Buffalo game, and now all of a sudden, I open Twitter and with Barstool Sports, Pat McAfee, LeBron James, and a bunch of other big sites, I'm the greatest thing ever, which I'm not. And I'm also not as bad as they said I was after the Joseph thing. So that, I don't know, that bugged me, man. It just, I know that's how it works, but it's elevator music to me. It has to be. Where there are things that have to be in one ear and out the other and not resting in my heart. And that was one of those moments.
Incredible moment. And I will never forget reading that tweet, just myself as your friend being just blown away. It was really cool. So was the call. So
all right, well,
in our jobs,
let me land the plane on this just to show you how social media and the society works these days. And this is no shot at LeBron James. He's super busy. Okay, super busy. But I mean, that was a pretty big thing he said. So, now the Wolves are playing the Lakers. I know some people who work for the Lakers. So I'm like, I would just like to shake his hand and even hold my phone up and say, you wrote this about me. And that's really, really nice, man. God bless you and best of luck the rest of the season. I learned in about 5 minutes that you just don't go to Aaron Sickman with the LA Lakers if you want to talk to LeBron James. I mean, you got to go to E, and then you got to go to my man over here and my man over there. Then you got to call this guy. It was ridiculous. So I'm like, hey, that's cool, man. You know what? I'm going to be in the fourth row. I'm not going to yell his name. If he remembers me, maybe he'll wave. Otherwise, it just shows you that it's in and out. It's so fleeting. It's just Twitter and quick hitters, negatively or positively, are just so fleeting that if he doesn't remember it, I'm not offended. But it was pretty big for me.
Okay, so I've been doing this thing with the Wild for almost 2 decades, and I told one of my coworkers the other night, I got to watch the game in Dallas with Marc-Andre Fleury. There's not enough room on the bench at that arena for the backup goalie, so he sits in that tunnel on a high chair almost, and we sat and watched the game together. It was incredible. Second time this year I got to watch a game.
Wow.
Shoulder to shoulder with Fleury, and I told one of the trainers that we're going to look back on this time with Marc-Andre Fleury as something really special that will impact us for the rest of our lives. And we'll look back at our careers and say, how lucky were we? So I'm going to turn it over to the football side with you, because you've had all kinds of unbelievable relationships. And it's what I think you're very best at, is the way you're able to formulate those relationships, and they're genuine and they're real, and you're on the field before the game, and it's a real thing. So when you look back, when it's all said and done and you retire, is there a couple where you're going to look back and say, holy bleep, I got to hang out with this guy? Because for me, it's Marc-Andre Fleury with a bullet.
Well, that's a great question. From, believe it or not, from a game calling standpoint, and it's recent. The Vikings decided to, kind of spice up our preseason simulcast, TV and radio, Fox 9 and KFAN. Hey, do you think it'd be cool to have Justin Jefferson wear headphones and a microphone while you're calling the game? Well, that was cool. And I loved it. It was fantastic. Well, when Kevin O'Connell did it at Philadelphia, and this is when you were talking about Fleury, being next to you and like anticipating and telling you what's coming and how it works. That's unbelievable. Well, with O'Connell, when he joined the broadcast for the third quarter of our final preseason game at Philly, and then he was like, all right, PA, we're going to screen right here. I need this guy, the left guard, to get outside the numbers very quickly or the play's not going to work. All right, so then we watch the play. My man doesn't get out there fast enough, and it's a 5-yard tackle for loss. So to go inside a coach's mind when he's calling plays And to see how it's supposed to work even in preseason, that's something I'll never forget. Secondly, and certainly not prioritizing here because they're both blessed moments. But in 2009, when Favre was here, I was intimidated. It's like I was nervous around him. It was unbelievable. It's when you watch Favre in practice, it almost ruined everything for me with quarterbacks because it's like nobody's ever going to do it like this. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. How he walks up to Percy Harvin when Percy's down with a headache. How he works with Sidney Rice on route running. So that season with Favre, I probably had a combined 20 minutes of conversations with him. Then they lose to New Orleans. And I see Brett with Percy Harvin, Sidney Rice, and Adrian Peterson. Now, Adrian's in his third year, Percy's rookie of the year, Sidney's in his second year. But like Fleury, when you can be that guy that they all look up to professionally, but you're like the surrogate dad or surrogate uncle, and none of them want to let you down, that's rare. And they were embracing and they were crying. And I got the courage after that loss to the Saints in the NFC title game to go up to Brett and say, in my whatever years calling games for this team, you're the greatest football player I've ever seen in my life. And I just really hope you come back next year. And he hugged me hard. And it's the only time I've cried after a Vikings game. And like my shoulders were going up and down, man. I just lost it. Because of the game and because of the moment. So those two moments right there are two that I never will forget, where I was closer to it than I ever thought I would be.
All right, final quick little topic here, and then we'll get to the hat trick hot seat.
Well, you want to talk about the Wolves and the play-in? Just kidding.
So
wooden court.
I got our mutual friend Troy, who's in our golf fantasy thing we do for the majors, our little snake draft, bet the Wolves at 100-1, and he's so excited about this ticket. And he did it about a month ago. Had a friend down in Iowa, and so when you bring up the play-in, he's all wound up with where they land and what they do. I think it's a great value, and again, I don't know if they're going to get there, but 100-1. With your Finchy and your Wolves, I think that's fantastic. Okay, so
you say 100-1 to win the title, 100-1 to win the title,
which is crazy value.
And we could spend either in the press box this spring, summer at Canterbury, or a future edition of Wooden Sticks. I mean, we could spend a half hour just honestly talking about how stupid it is that we don't have sports betting in this state, and that you're like, you got to drive south to Iowa, or you got to drive over there to Turtle Lake, whatever it's called. It's so stupid.
It's ridiculous. I mean, literally, I had a couple of opinions this morning on the NCAA hockey, and I wanted to get in the car and drive to Diamond Joe's, but it's a 4-hour production. If you go down and come back and make your plays, and I'm in there for less than 10 minutes. I mean, I've got this down to a science. But it's a 4-hour production from where I live, and I'm like, I'm not doing it today. Anyway, I've allowed myself to dream. And, when you work side by side with a team, you think about what might be. And I think about the parade that would happen if the Wild finally got over the hump and won a cup. And I looked at the heartbreak we had as North Star fans in both 81 and 91, getting so close and losing. And I think it'd be incredible. St. Paul it'd be unbelievably cool. And I know I'd be a part of it in one way, shape, or form or the other. Now, all that being said, and we are the state of hockey, all that's great. I've lived here all my life, and I'm going to tell you right now, the Vikings have and will always be the number one team in this town. And have you allowed yourself, PA, in your spot to think about not only what it would be like to go on that journey, hopefully with Kevin O'Connell and the quarterback and JJ and all the guys, right? But for you personally, to call a Vikings win in the Super Bowl and then the pandemonium that would certainly follow, what does it look like in your mind?
I haven't really thought a lot about it, quite honestly, because it is so daunting. And like, at the end of a call, and this from my racetrack announcing, not that I have the greatest lines in the world, racetrack announcing, but I don't script lines. I mean, what comes out is meant to come out. That's Minneapolis Miracle or whatever. So I'm not I don't start thinking about it until it's time to think about it. Now, the one thing that, that I'm working on now, and it actually is perplexing to me, and I probably will bring it up at CBY Track Flack, starting in late May when we start running live racing. And I'm being serious when I say this, and if you laugh, I'm not offended. We have Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy. All right. Yeah, see, this JJ thing's driving me nuts. We draft McCarthy, and at the draft party, top of the head, I go, it's JJ to JJ for the payday. So then I meet McCarthy, and then he's like, all right, well, what are you going to say when I throw a touchdown to Justin Jefferson? And I'm like, well, it's interesting you say that, because last night I said, it's JJ to JJ for the payday. He hated it. He's a kind kid.
What do you mean
but
he
he's
hated
like,
it?
Oh, no, he's kind. He didn't hate. He was like, oh, hey, okay, that's good. Well, then I ran it by Jefferson, and he's like, man, I want to be called Jets. I'm like, oh, come on, Jets. Nothing rhymes with Jets and touchdown. So I got to think about this. Honestly, I need to pay attention to this and come up with something, because when Justin Jefferson started here in 2020, I don't know how it happened, and I don't even know if people like it. But I like saying, he's JJ, but that was for Jefferson. So now if I do it for McCarthy, they're going to wonder, well, is that Justin or is that JJ? So this thing's a conundrum. I'm not, it's not like I'm going to open it up on KFAN and take talkbacks, but maybe I will, because I have no idea how to put this thing together. If anything hits you, by all means, shoot me a text, or any of your Wooden Sticks listeners.
I love it. We will do that for sure. Final part of the show is the hat trick hot seat. 3 questions. We get to know Paul Allen just a little bit better. I'm going to save my favorite question for last. So I'm going to go in reverse order. 3 quickies to complete the hat trick. Number 1 question. If you and the flight attendant, the lovely Lisa, are going to go out for a celebration, whether it's an anniversary or a birthday, something special, where is your favorite date night spot to have dinner?
Oh, wow.
A lot of choices.
Lion's Tap. Lion's Tap is close to where I live. Yep. Lion's Tap burgers are terrific. I love Lion's Tap. We're that kind of a couple. And it probably would be Lion's Tap.
Love that answer. It's one of my favorite spots in town. From where I live in Minnetonka to get to Canterbury, I drive by it all the time. And I've been there many a time.
Kevin, do you like sweets?
I didn't used to. Unfortunately, I've developed a liking for them at an older age. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Okay. I can't believe I've never told you this.
Salty.
Well, because you're at, what's it called? T-Mobile Arena, where the Golden Knights play?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in Vegas so often. Have I ever put you on butter cake at Mastro's? Because if it was like one big moment and you could only have one thing, then it would be the butter cake at Mastro's in the Cosmopolitan across from Planet Hollywood. It is the single greatest dessert I've ever had in my life. It's warmed. They have strawberries and vanilla ice cream with it, and then I'll mix it with espresso. It's just, remember, in case somehow you get back out to Vegas, playoffs or whatever, Mastro's Cosmopolitan butter cake.
I've heard Rosen and Meat Sauce both talk about that on the radio and say the exact same thing you just said, that it's the best they've ever had. So if we end up playing Vegas, that will happen. Okay, question number 2 for the hot seat. Getting to the hat trick eventually. Your all-time favorite sports movie would be which and why?
Wow. I like Miracle. Miracle.
I would not have guessed this.
Yep. I like, okay, I'm an NBA guy. Okay. Spaceball sucked. Okay. I didn't like it. Baseball, the League of Their Own with Tom Hanks. I mean, yeah, that was pretty unbelievable, wasn't it? Field of Dreams.
Pretty good.
No, Miracle, man. Miracle with Kurt Russell, and just knowing it was a real story and actually getting to know people like Pronger with a Ponytail's dad, Mike Ramsey, and verifying things that took place with the Miracle team. And then again, being at the Cap Center in one of Jim Craig's first NHL games, then with the Atlanta Flames. Yeah, miracle, definitely.
Now, this was never going to be one of your picks, but being the basketball lover that you are, was Blue Chips with Nick Nolte not a precursor to what NIL is now? I mean, I think about it all the time now. With I hear Parker Fox, and he was fantastic with you today. And I know people are getting to this podcast after the fact. We're recording on a Thursday, but the NIL thing, and remember Nick Nolte and Blue Chips? That was such a fascinating movie. I want to say, was it Shaq and Penny Hardaway that were in that movie?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So good, PA.
That's
awesome.
A dynamite one. Well, I can go back to when I lived in the Philippines, and I lived there in like the mid 70s. I lived in the Philippines when the Thrilla in Manila with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier took place. So there's a documentary on a fight between Frazier and Ali in Africa.
It's incredible.
When we were kings. No, my new answer is when we were kings. That's it. That is the answer. That's incredible. You're right. But Mean Machine came out when I lived in the Philippines, and it ended up being The Longest Yard is what it was called here. But the Burt Reynolds prison movie, Mean Machine, that was sweet.
Oh, good call. All right, final question. I think I've got an idea here, but I don't know that I've ever asked you this specifically. And anyone that's been to your beautiful spot at Canterbury, you call the races, you've got all the nostalgia, the music and the sports and all the memorabilia, might have an idea of where this answer could take us. But I want to know the venue and the band of your very first concert as a young little PA.
It would be the Fabulous Forum, and it would be in 1983 when I was a junior in, no, I apologize. That first indoor would be Fabulous Forum, 83, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Manning Your Album Tour. But the first one I ever went to was either 81 or 82 at the LA Coliseum, and I had no idea who Prince was at that time. But my brother took me to see the Rolling Stones. And the opening acts were Jay Giles Band. It went Prince, Jay Giles Band, Rolling Stones. And Prince was just starting out. So, being from Washington, D.C., I grew up with a lot of R&B around me. So this guy comes out wearing a negligee, and I'm like, but he's playing this funky-ass music. I'm like, are you kidding me with this music? Where did this come from? Well, it didn't, the negligee trick and all that didn't exactly fit in with the Rolling Stones crowd. So I think he got through 3 songs. They booed him off the stage. They were throwing a bunch of stuff. Mick Jagger and the Stones came out, and they did the shortest Rolling Stones show in the history of the Rolling Stones. In the calendar section of the LA Times the next day, Mick Jagger told the person reviewing it, what they did to this young man, who I'm trying to get started here, Prince Rogers Nelson, I will never come back and play in Los Angeles again because of that. And I don't think he came back for 15 or 20 years. But that was my first concert, period, at the Coliseum.
In a world, and again, I grew up at this time. I remember how big Jay Giles was. But it sounds so preposterous now to think that Prince went on before Jay Giles, but I'm laughing thinking about it. Well, it's incredible because this guy, How
about this? I'm calling races at Bay Meadows. I end up meeting, I can't remember how, the cousin for the bass player for Metallica. All right. Now, I'm not a speed metal guy. I'm not a heavy metal guy, but this guy's like, it's New Year's Eve at the Shark Tank, San Jose Civic Center or whatever it's called. And, you and 2 others, I'm going to bring you to a New Year's Eve Metallica show. And you'll get backstage passes. You'll get to meet James Hetfield for a short time and all that. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Cool. So we go. How about the opening acts that night? And I think, I think it was right around probably 93, 94, 95, something like that. The opening acts, this little band called Rage Against the Machine. And then after them, this little band called 311. They just were starting out. It was unbelievable.
Corey Cole would have been in heaven. Literally would have been in heaven. PA, as always, love these conversations. I think our listeners got a real great window into the magic that is the career of Paul Allen. And Can't wait to get back in that press box at Canterbury and spend an entire summer with you guys. There's nothing better. It's the best medicine I have in my life. It just makes me feel good. And we've been through some ups and downs in our lives in that press box, but I look forward to it every summer, and we're getting awfully close.
Well, thank you very much for asking me to do this, Kevin. And when I say this, not anybody, please don't take it lightly or think I'm exaggerating. I love you, man. And I always have. Our friendship is 10 of 10. And if we don't talk for a while, distance is never disdain. You're the genuine article. And I'm really happy God put you in my life for many, many years. And watching you ascend and push through some things that have happened during your career, professionally or personally, it's inspiring. And you inspire me, man. So just thank you for being as cool as you are.
Oh, I don't know how to top that right there. God bless you, and I love you right back. You're a dear friend, and I got to collect myself in my thoughts here, so we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back in just a moment to wrap up this edition of Wooden Sticks. Well, I'm still in awe of what Paul just said. Very, very sweet of him to say that, and really cool of him to take time to be on the show today. The bottom line is it was great fun to hear some of his stories. Just terrific insight, and really excited to see where this hockey playing quarterback can take the Minnesota Vikings. I've got so many dear friends in my life that have poured decades into this football team, and it's been heartbreaking. They've been close. They've been to Super Bowls. They've been to NFC Championship games. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a Denver Bronco fan, and that's always going to be my team. I still love the Vikes. I'm a huge fan of their head coach. Got to know him briefly through Paul Allen, met him in the press box, as I mentioned, but watch him from afar and really enjoy the way he runs his football team and the human being that he seems to be. I'm a huge fan of JJ McCarthy and love what potential he brings to the table. So great to hear PA's thoughts today and tied into a hockey background. And that's kind of what we do here on Wooden Sticks. Would love your input. Ping me on X or Twitter at Gorgomatic21. If you want to be a part of the show, if you've got a family member or friend that needs a little push in the advertising department, Andrew Height's the guy. We call him the white dog. He is so good at what he does, and he will elevate your business. I promise you that. You can ping him via the email aheydt@talknorth.com. Looking forward to that live show in April. Stay tuned for updates on that. Go Minnesota Wild. Big weekend ahead, big trip ahead to New York. We'll be recording the show from the Big Apple next week. Thank you for listening one last time. I really do appreciate the loyalty here on the show and love bringing you some great hockey content week in, week out. The greatest part is the people who join me, including Paul Allen today. Take care, everybody.